Hello out there, YouTube land. Sean Cahalan, Christian trucker brother, coming at you with a video, an introduction video to me, Sean Cahalan, and my channel that I'm putting together. And I wanted to kind of put together an introduction video to kind of introduce myself, describe a little bit about me, my background, and what it is that I can provide as far as information, insights, hints, tips, and tricks in and around the trucking industry that might be helpful to viewers out there on YouTube. So basically, my name is Sean Cahalan, and I've been driving trucks since 2008. Well, actually about 2004. I originally got my CDL and drove local for a number of years, about 5.5 years. I started out in construction, running small asphalt dump trucks and water trucks. I didn't go to school. I didn't go through any kind of CDL training. I was kind of self-taught because I worked on the ground on an asphalt paving crew, and I was basically given an opportunity to kind of step up into a smaller truck, single axle dump truck. And basically from there, I slowly progressed. I got my learner's permit, and then I was able to pass the driving test after I acquired my learner's permit. And I basically used a single axle dump truck with an automatic, and I was pulling I think it was a 15-foot or 18-foot or 20-foot flatbed trailer behind me. And this was before they had the automatic restriction that they came out with a few years later. So basically I got that. I drove local in construction for about 1.5 years, couple years. And then I went to Elko, Nevada and drove in the mines, running double side dumps with Peterbilt day cab. And we were running Load King and Smithco double side dumps, which were about 115 feet long. And we were running about 144,000 pounds off-road and 125,500 pounds on-road. We were running basically mining ore, dirt, rock, and what's called dried concentrate. So we would basically be hauling that all over the place in Nevada. I decided to try to go over the road to see what that was like. I had always been kind of geared towards wanting to be over the road to see the country. I have always been an adventurous kind of person, and I enjoy the long drives. Anytime I do any kind of dedicated runs or any kind of back and forth, I get bored really easily, and I like to be able to move to something different with each load that I run. So I decided to go to work for CR England out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And while I was in orientation, I did the short-term training because I had a little bit of local driving experience. And so I was on a trainer's truck for about a week, 10 days, something like that. And they talked me into doing a company lease truck. And so I did that for about 6 months. And I couldn't make any money with that lease program being what it was. But I did get an inside view on being a company leased operator and the many pitfalls that are involved with that. Basically, when I sat down and did the math, I figured out that I wasn't making any money up until I hit what's called a break-even point. And up until I got to that break-even point, CR England was making money with each mile that I ran up to that break-even point, and then I started making money after I paid all of my truck payments and so on and so forth. And so what tends to happen in a scenario like that is that you barely make any money because you have no experience, you don't know what you're doing, and all the while you're making all the payments for the company, and they are raking in the money because they make their money up front. And so as you learn, it is very expensive to learn. So I didn't stay with them very long. I turned the truck in and had some not so nice words to tell a couple people within the company. When I did exit out, I did not do it very, very nicely. I did turn the truck back in at a terminal, and of course, I didn't do anything too far out there, like abandoning the truck or anything like that, but I did have a couple choice words to tell to my fleet manager and a couple of other people in management. So from there, I decided to go back local, and I basically started running cows. I ran cows for about 6 months. Absolutely hated that. That is, you got to really like livestock, and you really got to like the agricultural farming life if you're going to be involved in that. It takes a special kind of person. I honestly think that people that are brought up around that farming life would really enjoy something like that, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, and so I didn't stick around the agricultural livestock. I ran feed, I ran livestock, I ran some tankers, I ran dead cattle for a while. These are all local jobs in central Idaho that I tried to stay local and stay home, and I just could not find a job that really that would make me happy. I didn't like the getting up early in the morning to go drive for 10-12 hours and then come home, pass out for a few hours, and then do it all over again, and of course having to commute back and forth to work. So after a few local jobs that didn't pan out very well, my father reached out to me, and he had cut his fingers off in a table saw and got a settlement. And it was quite a large settlement, and so he wanted to give me some money, about $20,000 cash, and he asked me what I wanted to do with it. And at that point, I knew enough about trucking to know that if I wanted to be successful, I needed to do it as an owner-operator. And little did I know that I didn't know near enough to be able to be truly successful as a business owner at that point in my life yet. So I basically took the $20,000 and I called up a buddy that I met at CR England when I was in orientation. He had a truck. He was an owner-operator that was leasing his truck on to CR England, and at the time I reached out to him, he was on with US Express and was going broke really, really fast. And so I offered to have him bring the truck up to Idaho. I would get the plates, the permits, the authority, and I would go get a flatbed. And because at the time flatbed rates were a lot better than dry van rates, and the lanes were just paying a lot better on flatbed. I had no flatbed experience, and neither did my partner. So of course, what I didn't know then really bit me, because I did everything wrong, basically. But I'd learned a lot of different things. So I ran a company for 9 months doing a partnership. I formed up a partnership LLC and ran for about 9 months and did about $250,000 worth of revenue. And this was when freight rates were going down. They were holding steady for me at about $2 a mile, but of course fuel was about $4.50 to $5. We were creeping up on the $5 a mile back in 2008, 2009. And there was a lot of disagreements, and we weren't making enough money because we were dumping all the money into fuel maintenance, and we just weren't able to run the business effectively in order to be able to hold on to enough of the money to be profitable. So I basically shut down the company and went to work for a small little outfit out of central Idaho, a flatbed company. They had about 100 trucks, and I ran flatbed over the road for them for off and on for about 3.5 years. during that time, I learned a lot about what I didn't know in flatbedding when I was trying to run under my own authority. What I had tried to do is I tried to get a truck and tried to lease it on with the company that I was driving for, but I wasn't able to piece everything together in time, and I ended up losing. I couldn't acquire a truck because I didn't have enough money to put down. So I drove for them for 3.5 years. I did convertible flatbed, which is a flatbed with a hopper bottom where you can run grain. You set up a side kit with tarps around the center of the bed, and it has hoppers, but then it has grates that go across it to where you can load flatbed freight on top of it if you don't run your hopper kit setup. So I did 48-foot flatbed OTR. I did convertible flatbed. I did a little bit of curtain side, and I did Northwest Regional Heavy Haul at 105,500 pounds max with a 5-axle. Was it a 5-axle or 4-axle? I think it was a 4-axle maxi flatbed and a 4-axle tractor with the tag axle drop down, the air tags. So I did that for about 6 or 8 months. During the winter, I got a lot of good winter driving experience. I was throwing chains all winter long, so I got a lot of chaining experience. And I eventually went back to over the road because I didn't like the fact that I was tarping and untarping every day to every other day. It was a lot of hard work, and I'm not afraid of hard work, but you reach a certain point where, there's just too much hard work and you're having to work way too hard for your money. And being on the regional heavy haul, yeah, I was able to be home more often, but I did struggle to make up for that in revenue, being able to make more money. So I decided to go back over the road, and then shortly after that, I injured my shoulder lifting tarps. I sustained some kind of soft tissue injury in my neck, and due to a work comp claim, I got out of trucking from around 2011 until recently, about 1.5 years ago, I came back into trucking. So from 2011, 2012, all the way up to 2020, 2021, somewhere right in there is when I came back to trucking. I was a stay-at-home dad for a long time. I never thought I'd get back into trucking again. And I decided to go into massage therapy, and went into a more holistic healing, massage, bodywork, Reiki, yoga, and stuff like that. And I ended up starting a private practice. I ran my own business, again, because I'm an entrepreneur. I love to challenge myself and see how good I can do on my own. I guess I kind of struggle a little bit with that entrepreneurial bug. I don't like other people telling me what to do. You might say it's a little bit of a combination of an authority figure problem, but ultimately I do better when I call my own shots, because then I like to I feel more motivated if I'm doing things on my own. And nobody knows the way that I like to run better than myself. So when I came back to driving truck, I came back into dry van. I had driven reefer before, and so I had it in my mind that dry van was going to be a lot like reefer. And reefer, if any of you guys out there have driven reefer, or you are currently driving reefer, you guys know that there's a lot of added stuff when it comes to running a reefer and being responsible for that reefer unit, on top of your normal responsibilities as a truck driver, on top of everything else. As As a reefer operator, you have the reefers that you have to have maintained. You have to keep an eye on them. You have to make sure that they're preset. When you show up at your shipper or receiver, you have to make sure it's set right. If you don't set it right and you get to a receiver and your pulp temp inside your box is not right because you didn't set it right, or you put it on sentry mode instead of continual run, you risk the chance of spoiling the load. You have to go and get trailer washouts. You have to mess with pallets, and generally speaking, with grocery loads, with food loads, with loads of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, they generally take a very, very long time to unload. So your dock appointments are usually really odd hours in the middle of the night, and then so your schedule is flipping back and forth from nights to days to nights to days. And so I thought that dry van was going to be a lot like that. And so I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it wasn't. And I still had, I ran for a box van company and decided, you know what, I want to go back to flatbedding. That's what I loved before, and that's what I really want to get back into. And so I thought that I would go to work for a mega fleet out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm not going to mention their names. They run blue trucks, and they run 53-foot flatbed trailers. And I thought that it was going to be very similar to what I was doing before, and quickly found out that it was nothing like I was doing before. The loads that we were hauling were extremely difficult to secure. They were very high risk loads, and a lot of them were drop and hook. And when you drop and hook a flatbed, you have to swap equipment. And swapping equipment, if any of you flatbedders out there know, swapping equipment takes a very long time. Swapping out loads with other drivers, again, takes a very long time. And so I ran for them for 6 months, and I was struggling to get my miles because they wouldn't listen to the way that I like to run, and I couldn't do things the way that I used to do them before. And so I had to make a very big decision and say, okay, as much as I love flatbedding, I don't love all of this extra work and headache and all of this disrespect that I'm getting from this company. And so I came back over to this other company that I'm with right now, and they are a medium-sized fleet with about 1,200 trucks, and they run nothing but dry vans, and I love it. It's I'm able to maintain a higher mileage count. I'm able to make more money easier. But I still feel that there is a missing element of being an entrepreneur and being able to book my own loads, and being able to call the agents on the phone and call the customers, the shippers and receivers on the phone, and to be able to feel connected and being able to serve my customers. As a company driver, we just do what we're told on the box, and the box says to go pick up this load. You don't really get to talk to anybody but the guard, and you drop a trailer, you pick up a trailer, and you're gone. You don't really get to interact with anybody. There's no part of understanding why things happen, what goes wrong, if something goes wrong with the loads or anything else like that. You're kind of always in the dark. Nobody tells you anything, and it's very disconnected. And I don't like that. Some of the other stuff that I've done, I've worked for the oil fields up in Williston, North Dakota. I ran a stretch flatbed hauling living what were they called? Kind of like manufactured homes, but they were container type buildings. It was for a company called Advanced Building Services, and we hauled buildings that were 14 foot 6 wide, 14 foot 6 tall, and 65 or 68 feet long. They weren't extremely heavy, but they were big. And as far as oversize, over height, and all of that, I was stressed beyond belief. Now, I'm not opposed to running oversized loads when needed, if they're long or if they're a little bit wide, but 14'6", 14'6" wide when you need special extension mirrors that go out on both sides and you need a pilot car in front of you and behind you, that is extremely stressful. And I don't think that I was ready for that kind of stress at that point in my life. That's when I was quite a bit younger. And so I didn't like that. So I've done that, and I've done, you know, a lot of specialized stuff that a lot of people talk about. And so because I've had a wide range of experience, I'm also able to share information with other people that might be thinking about going into certain classes of trucking. Like if somebody's thinking about making the switch from dry van to flatbed, or from flatbed to reefer, or from reefer to flatbed, or reefer to dry van. Or maybe you're thinking about getting into heavy haul, step deck, and stuff like that. I can tell you the differences that you'll run into. I can, you know, help guide you and maybe point out some things and give you some information. And when I make videos on this channel, I'm going to be making videos that are informational about you know, hours of service and technology and the different aspects of driving. You know, what's the difference between a company driver, a lease operator, or somebody who's an owner operator? What's the difference of having your own authority? A lot of you guys that may be thinking about getting your own authority, who do you talk to find out information? What's the differences between leasing on with Landstar versus trying to get your own authority? What are some of the pitfalls that you might run into? I can, if you watch my videos, and I will be posting videos on here talking about different topics like that. And if you like and subscribe, and I get a following, and we can put this stuff together, I think that I can bring a lot to the table that can be very helpful for people that might be thinking about switching into a different lane in trucking. Some of the other stuff that I can talk about is the differences between local, regional, or over the road. What are the benefits and drawbacks of each? What will your regular routine look like? What are some of the differences that you'll run into? Some of the other topics that I'll be covering is the difference between going to a truck driving school and maybe signing on with a carrier to get your CDL, going through the truck driver training and the training after you get your CDL, versus studying for the test yourself, passing the written exam and getting your learner's permit, and getting some experience with local driving opportunities without having to go over the road. What are some of the ways that you may be able to avoid having to get into a trainer's truck for 3 to 6 weeks? I know a lot of people have no idea what they're getting into. They may be kind of explained certain things by recruiters that say, oh, it's really easy, you know, you just go through the course and then we put you on a truck with a trainer. But they don't give you insights on what life is going to be like living in a 10-foot box with a trainer. Some of the things that you might face that you might not be thinking about, like lack of privacy, and always being around somebody for 24 hours a day for 4 to 6 weeks at a time. I've been a trainer, and I've been on a trainer's truck, so I have insights from both sides, from the trainer's perspective as well as from the trainee's perspective. I can talk about some of the differences between what I think is missing in the industry as far as the way trainers are treated and the way that trainees are treated. So if you find any of this stuff helpful, like and subscribe to my channel. That way I can we can build this channel up, and I can come up with more videos, and I can have more options going forward. I would like to get this online presence going, my YouTube presence going, and I would like to bring what I would feel to be helpful information to drivers out there of all calibers, both, you know, brand new, thinking about getting your CDL, fresh out of driving school, company drivers thinking about getting into leasing, and drivers thinking about going out on their own, purchasing their own truck, or even possibly getting their own authority. I have done all of those. And right now I'm getting ready to go over to work over at Landstar for a BCO over there. And the opportunity is that I can go and work and drive a truck and treat the truck like it's my own. I'm going to be shown how to run the business side of things with the running the numbers and keeping track of all the numbers without having the risk of being in a lease or being in a purchased truck, trying to do things the way that I was doing them before. I actually have an opportunity to go to work for somebody and make a percentage of the line haul, and to be able to make more than I'm making right now without all of the risk. So I want to catalog my journey, going over to Landstar and going to work for this particular person, and I need to talk with them to make sure that it's okay that I bring up their names and bring up their company, so that I know that it's okay that I talk about them with any of you guys out there that may be interested in Landstar. I would love to share my experiences along the way, with onboarding with Landstar, going to work for a BCO, and saving up enough money to purchase my own truck, and what I feel is the better way of going about attempting to become an owner-operator. And I have a lot of opinions. Some of them are very, very, very educated opinions, because I've done things the mainstream way, no money down, no credit, and try to work your way through it and pay heavily for your ignorance or lack of knowledge. And I gotta tell you, it is I hate to say it should be criminal, but it is definitely what I consider to be it's almost like vindictive. I can't think of the word, that it's where they prey on you, and because you don't have the credit and you don't have the experience that you need, you don't have the knowledge, they capitalize on that. And you basically you get into a lease truck, and if you have no money down and you have no capital and you have no money in savings and you can't afford to buy the truck, they're not going to charge you 10% like you would get if you were to put money down and all of that. What they're going to do is they're going to charge you 20 to 25% APR over the course of your lease. And so basically, if you were to purchase a truck and take it all the way to lease completion and then turn around and pay the truck off, you're basically paying, you're buying a $150,000 truck, but you're going to end up paying over $250,000 for it. So that to me seems predatory. That's the word I was looking for, predatory, where they know that you're high risk, banks won't touch you, and a lot of subprime lenders won't touch you either. And you're broken, you're desperate, and you think that the answer to all of your questions is to become an owner-operator. And because the allure is that you can make more money, and the thing about it is yes, you do make more money. However, you don't keep more money. And if you fail to do things just right, there is a high failure rate in the leasing world. And owner operators and lease operators, the failure rate is astronomical. It's like 75% fail, and 95% fail after 2 years or something like that, or after 1 year. It's really high. It's like 85 to 90% of new authorities fail. And a lot of these lease operators, you'll either just barely make it, and if you are a lease operator and you're doing really well, I'm not saying that you can't, but what I will say is that what you're doing is the exception and not the rule. And it's probably because you've got a very strong work ethic, and you're smart, and you're intelligent, and you're able to figure out and work through and to adapt and shift the way that you operate in order to overcome. A lot of these drivers that are just coming into the industry, they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the wherewithal to be a good business operator, and they think that, oh well, this company's telling me that I should lease a truck and that it's easy. It's not. It's not easy at all. And so I'm hoping to share some of my insights with people, and if you do decide to do something like that, I can put together material in some of these videos to where I can show you, if you are going to be successful, this is what you're going to need to do. And so if you do decide to go and lease a truck, I can show you how to do it and what it takes to be successful. But I'm also going to tell you, why would you take that risk? And I'm going to ask you, why would you take that risk, knowing that you are basically one breakdown away from failure? And a lot of it is, if it's for you, it's for you. And just because it didn't work out for me doesn't mean that it won't work out for somebody else. Everybody's got to do what they want to do, and if they're dead set on being a lease operator, there's, the bar from entry is very, very low, and anybody can get into a lease truck. Just know that in the leasing world, the turnover rate is 100% to 95%. And even the ones that are successful, even about 99% of them don't go into another lease. They go on to other things. And so, if you're using it as a stepping stone, just know that it's gonna be wrought with challenges. And if I can bring any light to the table to kind of shine the light on some of the problems that you may run into, if I can be helpful in any way to help you avoid some of those pitfalls, then I would feel like I was part of your journey. And I don't want to seem like I'm totally opposed to lease operators chasing a dream. That's not that's not my mentality, and that's not how I feel about it. And if you do end up talking to me or messaging me, or we do end up having a discussion about something, I'm just going to challenge you and ask you certain questions just to make sure that you're absolutely positive that it is what you want to do. Because if you're not positive that this is what you want to do, you're going to get into a lease opportunity and you're going to get 6 months into it and you're going to fail. And when you fail, the financial obliteration that comes with it is hard. It's hard to recover in trucking. It's hard to change lanes in trucking. It's hard to go from one company to another, because when you transition over to another company, it usually takes a long time. And that's something else that I can bring to the table too, is I have changed jobs a lot, and I can tell you how to do it without being unemployed. You can take care of almost anything nowadays via the internet, and you can submit things online, your application, your background, and all of that. And so you can literally set up your next job and without ever leaving the truck. So if you like this this content that I'm going to be bringing forward, you know, like, subscribe, and comment below maybe some ideas or some topics that you would like to see. And I'm going to start my video series. I'm gonna actually be covering Qualcomm's E-Logs. This little box right here, this E-Log machine, is something that can make or break you. If you don't know how to operate your E-Logs, and you do not know how to run efficiently from day to day, and you're not really good at trip planning, it can mean the difference between being a 2,000 mile a week driver to potentially being a 3,500 mile a week driver. And depending on how fast your truck can go, if you can go 70 miles an hour and you're really super efficient at what you can do, you can do even more than that. I just say 3,500 because I've reached 3,500 a few times in the last year. I average between 2,800 to 3,200 miles, and I go home every 2 weeks. So definitely that's where I'm going to start. I you know, being a trainer a couple of times in my past, this is what people come back to a lot and ask me about, and this is what I'm always helping people with, especially new drivers and drivers that are in their first year or two. And even some of you drivers that have been out here for a long time, there might be some hints, tips, or tricks that I can share with you guys about how to better run this little box right here that controls your life. So keep an eye out for that video. That one's going to be coming up here pretty soon. And like I said, if there's any other topics that you would like me to talk about, I would love to take those into consideration and do some research and bring those topics onto another video for us to share and talk about. So the Qualcomm video about the E-Logs, and then I'm also going to do another video talking about technology. Of course, the main changes from 2004, 2006 to now, some of the changes that I've seen, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. I mean, some of it doesn't really help much, and some of it is really helpful. And some of the stuff I use diligently from day to day. And I just think that that would be a fun discussion to talk about the changes in technology from back when I was driving truck back in 2006 to now. There's been a lot of changes come down that I think are really good. And I might even talk about hours of service at some point. My thoughts and feelings about that. And lots of great topics of discussion that I'm going to be coming up with that I think will be helpful for people along this path. And if I come up with something like another topic or something, I'll just throw another video out there and see if we can get into some discussions. If you want to reach out to me, my email is sean.cahalin, CAHALIN, @gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook at Sean M. Cahalin. So if you want to hit me up on Messenger or whatever, you want to reach out to me, I'm always available to talk to and chat with, and whatever, email, whichever you think is best for you on your platform of how you like to communicate. So if you have any questions or concerns, or you have any thoughts about future videos, just drop a comment below and I will bring those to the table at some point. So thanks for watching, and like and subscribe, and there's more coming. Thanks.